Very slow preparing for our live stream tonight. Sorry about the delay here, folks, but we're getting ready to go live and we're almost there. There we go. Okay. Very slow preparing for it's working now. Just want to welcome everybody. I'd like to just welcome everybody. For everyone who's listening in on Ascension Radio, welcome. And to all of our live stream, all of our live viewers and viewers in our live chat, welcome to everybody tonight. Just wanted to let you know that the first hour tonight, we're broadcasting on, we're live streaming on YouTube, the POTUS Report for tonight, but we're simulcasting on Ascension Radio, and the link, I'll put the link in the chat if you'd like, but it's the first hour is going to be the POTUS Report, and the second hour will be our GoldFish Report number 500, part 3 with Sergeant Daniel Brad McBolin, USAF, from the USAP projects and program, talking about artificial intelligence and talking about a lot of things regarding artificial intelligence. We have a 4-part series for our 500th report. We may have a 5th part. We're hoping to have another guest join us to have a different perspective on artificial intelligence. So let's move along. If you haven't seen the 500 series, please take a look at it. There's 4 reports for it. It's a multi-part series. Go check it out on YouTube. I just want to say hello, everybody. Hi to Nancy and Doug and JM and Doug. How's everybody doing tonight? Thanks for joining me. As you know, tomorrow, let me just say, this is Saturday, June 13th, 2020. This is GoldFish Report number 505. It is week 175 POTUS Report. And tomorrow is President Trump's birthday. So in honor, I thought would be appropriate, in honor to celebrate or just kind of acknowledge the president's birthday, I'm going to be screen sharing this video because there's so many similarities between President Trump and President Kennedy. And I think President Trump, I think many would agree, in many ways is finishing what President Kennedy unfortunately wasn't able to complete. And let's just, for the sake of the president's birthday, let's just listen to Marilyn Monroe singing happy birthday to JFK, but it is my tribute to President Trump. So let's just say that this is a clip for President Trump. It's a very old clip, folks, so the sound on it's not that great, but do our best. Let's see what we got.
Mr. President, the late Marilyn Monroe.
She was late to the performance.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you. Thanks, Mr. President, for all the things you've done, the battles that you've won, the way you deal with U.S. Steel and our problems by the ton. We thank you so much. Everybody, happy birthday!
can now retire from politics after having had Happy Birthday sung to me in such a sweet, wholesome way.
There you have it. So that's
Mr. President.
That's just a way to acknowledge that it's President Trump's birthday tomorrow, and that's just one way to, signal. Yeah, that's one way to just signal a little acknowledgement and to President Trump. And by the way, I mean, the words are still, quite relevant. Thank you, Mr. President, for everything you've done, for all of the battles you've won, and the ones you're still fighting. So I know that you're trying to do what's best for the country, and I just want to say thank you. So let's get right down to our POTUS report, because we have a second hour that we have a pre-recorded show for you that was from earlier last week, or later last week, I should say. Let's take a look at what's been going on with the president and with his agenda for the past week. Here we have, as everybody knows, the radical left abandons law enforcement. Keeping people safe is the first duty of any government, whatever the other debates about public policy our country may have. The basic responsibility to protect all citizens from violence has long enjoyed vocal bipartisan support. After extremist proposals such as defunding immigration enforcement, pushing to eliminate private health plans with Medicare for all, and ending American energy dominance with Green New Deal, far-left Democrats ran low on fanatic proposals for their base. The riots gripping America's cities this month offered a new opportunity. Yeah, and here's a video clip of the president regarding this, or for Kelly McEnany, by Kelly McEnany, actually.
The fact that you have sitting congresswomen wanting to defund the police, notably Rashida Tlaib, notably Biden advisor AOC Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a former Clinton and Eric Holder spokesperson Brian Fallon, wanting to defund our police across this country, it is extraordinary. And when you think the left has gone far, and they couldn't possibly go farther, because we all remember the defund ICE movement. They want to defund immigration and custom enforcement, and now they want to defund the police. This is extraordinary. This is rolling back the protective layers that protect Americans in their homes and in their places of business. He's appalled by it, and it's remarkable to hear this coming from today's Democrat Party. As for solutions, he's talking through a number of proposals, no announcements on that, but he definitely, as he's noted, recognizes the horrid injustice done to George Floyd and is taking a look at various proposals. Okay, the president is appalled.
Let's get back to this. So that's the statement by the White House regarding this defund movement. First, Democrat leaders refused to condemn the violence. Next, they joined the mob in condemning U.S. law enforcement officers. At last, they caved to demands. Defund the police. Minneapolis' city council announced its intent to do it yesterday. This was from Monday, folks. This was earlier in the week. Where did I go? I'm sorry, I just lost it. Here it is. Yeah, and Democrats in Congress now want the rest of America to follow suit. Sorry about that. After the riots broke out, about 700 federal, state, and local law enforcement officers sustained injuries. At least 15 people have died, many of them African American. Countless small businesses have been torched, vandalized, or looted. At least 150 federal buildings have been damaged. It's unacceptable. Any real leader knows that. The violence and killing must stop. Minneapolis City Council President defends plan to dismantle the police. I'm not even going to play it. You can come to the goldfishreport.blogspot.com and check out what he has to say. Click on this link here. President Trump wasted no time in responding. On June 1st, he announced measures to protect peaceful, law-abiding Americans, including letting governors and mayors know that if they didn't protect their people, the U.S. military would do it for them. These efforts paid off as most American cities saw violence subside and peaceful protests continue without rioting. National Guard troops are also now able to withdraw. Before those actions, the president made it known that racial injustice would not stand. He asked Attorney General Bill Barr to expedite a federal investigation into the killing of George Floyd. President Trump has taken numerous other actions to make our criminal justice system fairer, including signing the historic First Step Act in 2017. Leaving entire communities to fend for themselves by defunding law enforcement won't improve criminal justice. It will ensure justice for no one. So another clip from Kayleigh McEnany's press conference is no police means chaos, crime, and anarchy. And I think we all know that. Any reasonable person would know that. So I don't think that for the majority of Americans, I don't think it's there. I think it's very clear that we would all see it the same way, that we do see a very important role for the police in our communities. The overwhelming majority of our police officers are heroes. They're the ones out on the streets each day to protect peaceful protesters from the violent tactics of Antifa. Bad cops need to be held accountable. Good ones need to be protected and supported. And let's not forget that, when you do have trouble and you call the police, they will come to your house to protect you. They will come and walk into a dangerous situation if you're held hostage. They will put their lives on the line for many people. And we have to remember that most cops are good cops. And like in any other field, there's bad doctors. There's, reports today about hospitals that are basically killing people for the COVID funding money. So how is that any different? I mean, we have to root out corruption and we have to have people held accountable for their crimes. That's how we do it. And the problem is that we haven't had a fair judicial system. We've had a two-tier judicial system. That's the problem. That's the problem. So I know that we're working on that, and that does need to be reformed, and the president is working on it. As he talked about here, the First Step Act, that was about giving people, a second chance, or like a new lease on life, so to speak, after being released from prison. So it helps people to reintegrate from being incarcerated into jobs and not having that held over their heads to make it impossible to get employment. So those are things that, and also working with certain employers who will hire people who have been incarcerated and are willing to work and try to repair and rebuild their lives. So the president has been very vocal about that. The President Trump is doing just that. Today, he held a roundtable discussion with law enforcement officials at the White House, where officers discussed responsible ideas for reform and ways for police officers to act as better friends for their communities. Democrats should follow the president's leadership, stand up for good police officers, and stop bowing to the insanity of their party's radical, dangerous fringe. And here's a video. You can go to the GoldFish Report.blogspot.com, and you can click on this link here to watch a video of the president meeting with law enforcement officials at the White House. So we know that Trump's National Guard surge allowed protesters to demonstrate safely. Unfortunately, I did hear a terrible report that the National Guard who were called in DC had ordered pizza. And hi, Sherry, how are you, dear? Hookers and good hookers, bad hookers and good hookers. I'm sorry. That's pretty funny, Sherry. She made me laugh. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, but whatever. Yeah, so you're so funny. Yeah, let me get back to where I was. It's pretty funny. But the problem was that these National Guard members were ordering pizza, and apparently they found ground glass in their pizza from this pizzeria in DC, which is, folks, this is crazy. This is just crazy. I'm telling you, we have to stop this. We have an insurgency in this country. You have to recognize it for what it is and realize that there is an insurgency. There is a movement, a Marxist movement, believe it or not, in 2020. We're having this discussion. This is real. This is really happening. This is hard to believe, but it's really happening. We're having a Marxist insurgency in this country. And you could almost call it anything. I mean, I think it's we have a lot of problems, folks. We have to have mutual respect for everybody, even if you disagree with everyone. We have to have mutual respect in order to live in peace. I don't know how else we're going to do it, but let's continue. The president participated in a roundtable with law enforcement, as we just discussed. The transcript to that is on the blog here if you'd like to take a look at it. I'm not going to go over it. And also the transcript to Kayleigh McEnany's press conferences here as well, which you can go take a look at as well. So right now we're talking about a press release here regarding a judicial nominee. We have a new judge to serve as the district court judge for the Eastern District of California. So the president announced his intent to nominate James Patrick Argels of California. We also have remarks by the president on job numbers report, and he says that it's a very big day. This was on June 8th. So let's see what day was that. Oh, that was Monday. So the other report was Sunday. He says, thank you very much. This is a very big day for our country. It's an affirmation of all the work we've been doing really for 3.5 years. This isn't just over the last few months. This is for 3.5 years. And it's a great thing. We're very strong. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world. And that strength let us get through this horrible pandemic. Largely, though, I think we're doing very well. He has other comments too, and what I'd like to do is just screen share a couple of comments by the president regarding our economy and regarding he gave a speech also at the he gave the commencement address at West Point Academy, which I believe he attended as well. So let me just find that excuse me. Find that clip. I had it lined up ready, and then we went to another. Here we go. It might not be the right clip. Sorry, folks, just a second. You understand, I publish a lot of things, so it gets a little bit crazy. I should just do a screen share one day of of this Twitter feed, because there's so many stories here. It's just amazing. Let's listen to what the president has to say about the governors, and then we're going to listen to a few other clips regarding the riots.
I think it's incredible where we are and what we've done considering where we came from. We were riding high. We're the greatest economy in history. We had the greatest employment numbers in history, including Black, African American. If you look at the African American numbers, were incredible, the best they've ever been. Spanish, if you look at Hispanic and Asian numbers, women numbers, everybody. And then we got hit with this plague, this horrible plague, and it was devastating from many ways, including the lives that were lost. That can never be regained. The economics, we're going to gain. Economically, we're going to be great. Next year, we're going to have a fantastic year. I think we're going to have a fantastic third quarter. But you can never replace the lives. I think it's incredible where we are.
I was correct. It was a correct clip that I had selected there, but the title on it was misleading for a moment there. But so that's what the president has to say. He made the greatest economy ever, and we're going. And it took a hit because of this pandemic, and he's going to rebuild it again. So let's take a look at another clip from the president this week, talking about, excuse me. He's such a patriot. He's really the greatest patriot, I think, of the whole country, and he should be. He absolutely should be, and it's really an honor. So here, let's listen to what he has to say at West Point.
Across this hallowed plain have passed many of the greatest and most fearsome soldiers that ever lived. They were heroes who drove thundering columns of Sherman tanks into the heart of a wicked empire. They were legends who unleashed the fury of American artillery upon our enemies on remote islands and distant shores. They were titans who strode through cannon blast and cavalry charge and stared down our foes through gray clouds of smoke and shrapnel. They were the Army Rangers who led the way up jagged cliffs, the airborne soldiers who rained down justice in the dark of night, the infantry whose very sight meant liberation was near, and the mighty forces who sent tyrants, terrorists, and sadistic monsters running scared through the gates of hell.
And I'm going to stop there because as the president talked about the Army Rangers and the airborne, I just want to pay homage to a family member of mine who was a Ranger, who was in the airborne division, and who has recently passed away. And so it's a tough hit for our family, and we are a very strong U.S. Army and military in our family, and just wanted to acknowledge that that the sacrifices, still continue, and pay homage to my cousin Johnny, who was a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, and he will be sorely missed. So it's big for me to say right now, actually, but I really appreciate the president being so supportive of our military, and I've never announced that before or revealed anything like that personally before, but it's appropriate right now, and it's happening at this time, and there's a lot of very devoted patriots in this country. There really, really are, and they don't want to see this country descend into anarchy as it already is. But as Q has taught us and pointed out, you can't explain everything to people. Some things they have to see for themselves, and this is part of the Great Awakening. So it's it's tough for everybody to see, and everything that has been hidden in the dark is coming to light now. Dark to light. It's what Q always says, and this is, what the GoldFish Report has been doing for the past 500 reports, or today 505 reports. It's trying to get that, break through the deception of the mainstream media, and get, the whistleblowers, and get the news, and get the facts, and get the information out there the best that we can. We haven't been perfect at it, but we've definitely done the best that we can, and certainly we've taken hits for it too. We certainly have. We've made, and I personally have made tremendous sacrifices, and maybe one day I'll talk about it, but it's not for today. I did it willingly. Okay, so some of them anyway. Let's continue. We have, there's more that the president has to say about Minnesota and the vaccines and everything else. It's a very long transcript, as it usually is, so I'm not going to go into any detail on the transcript because there's too much to report. So let's keep moving on. You can also go through, if you want to see what the latest, on Monday, we did our political theater attempt. We did our political theater report, myself and Jim Fetzer, and it was called The Attempted Mutiny on the Bounty Failed. And the bounty, of course, is America. And the mutiny, all of this is failing. All the deep states and the Democrats, attempts to undermine President Trump, undermine America, really, and overthrow his election, and also interfere with this new election, in November. I can't see it any other way other than them, ensuring their defeat. I think, make a comment in the comment section, make a comment in the live chat if you'd like, for those who are on YouTube, what you think about this. I mean, do you think the Democrats are the majority? Do you think that the majority of America wants to see our cities, our police defunded? Do you think the majority of America wants to see our cities descend in anarchy? I don't think so. But I'd like to hear your opinion, because it's not about me and what I think. It's about all of us, every single one of us. So here's another press release. This is regarding safeguarding U.S. national interests in the Arctic and Arctic regions. This is interesting, right? Everybody wants to know what's going on in Antarctica and even in the Arctic. And I can tell you that there's a reason that they don't want us to know anything about it, that we're not really allowed to travel there, but it will all come out eventually. They say that there's research going on there, but, you know, that's the cover story. Yeah, don't you find it amazing that every nation on the planet has signed a treaty not to develop Antarctica? Hello. Does anybody in the world, do we all agree on anything? Really? We just, for the sake of preserving Antarctica, really? An ice tundra? Not exactly. It's a rainforest. All right, we're going to find out about that, though. So here, this is helping national interests in the to protect our national interests in the Arctic and Antarctic regions and to retain a strong and Arctic security presence along with our allies and partners. The United States requires a ready, capable, and available fleet of polar security icebreakers that is operationally tested and fully deployable by fiscal year 2029. Accordingly, by the authority, so here the president is directing that the United States will develop and execute a polar security icebreaking fleet acquisition program that supports our national interests in the Arctic and Antarctic regions. So this will be in coordination. This is going to be Secretary of Homeland Security in coordination with the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Commerce, and the Director of Office of Management and Budget, of course, shall lead a review of requirements for a polar security icebreaking fleet acquisition program to acquire and employ a suitable fleet of polar security icebreakers and associated assets and resources capable of ensuring a persistent United States presence in the Arctic and Antarctic regions in support of national interests and furtherance of the national security strategy and the national defense strategy. Okay, so if you want to learn more about this, come to the blog and take a look at it, because I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's quite long. Okay, and then of course, here is the letter to the Senate regarding this is a consolidated report prepared by his administration with the War Powers Resolution, part of my efforts to keep the Congress informed about deployments of the United States Armed Forces equipped for combat military operations in support of United States counterterrorism efforts. Okay, I believe this is regarding also a, counterterrorism efforts. Afghanistan, Iraq and Syria, and Arabian Peninsula region, Jordan, Lebanon, Turkey, East Africa region. This is quite extensive. Lake Chad Basin and Sahel region, Cuba, Philippines, military operations in Egypt, and North Atlantic Treaty Organization operators in Kosovo. Okay, so come and take a look at this. So this is a letter to the Senate on that. So here's West Wing reads, defund police, watch crime return. Exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen, folks. One feature of our current politics is how quickly bad events trigger a rush to bad policies. So it is that the response to the killing of George Floyd has sprinted past police reform to defund the police, Wall Street Journal reports. By all means, let's debate other policies and accountability and using force. But a political drive to defund police risks a return to the high crime era of the 1960s and 70s that damaged so many American cities. Vulnerable New Yorkers want more police presence, not less. They view officers as their only protection against predation. What will the activists seeking to defund the NYPD tell these law-abiding residents? That they are now on their own? Manhattan Institute fellow Heather McDonald writes for the New York Post. From the Daily Caller, they write, the owner of a manufacturing company based in Minneapolis has decided to move his factory after law enforcement was unable to protect the plant from burning during riots. He said that the city's local leaders didn't care about my business. They didn't protect our people. We are all on our own. Yeah, interesting. Other company that has left Minneapolis is one company that makes and manufactures. Let me see if I have that bookmarked here. Let Let me see. Dummies, is it called? This is the company here. Let me see if I can get this to pull up. Yeah. It's called 7S, 7 Sigma Simulation Systems. Let's take a look. Just a little caveat here. This is the company who has walked away, has announced that they were leaving Minneapolis, and this is what they make. Coincidentally, folks, take a look. I'm sure everybody has seen it, but if you haven't, and I know for listeners on Ascension Radio, you can't see this, but you can listen along, I suppose, right? These are airway mannequin instruction manuals. And it's quite interesting because you could see they almost look like George Floyd, don't they? Let's take a look at COVID. Let's take a look at this one. Well, I looked at the first one, and it's going to show you a manual here. And here it is. So you have, dark-skinned, you have light-skinned. I don't know, looks awfully familiar, doesn't it? So let's just take a look through this here. Look at that. Really? I hope everybody sees this who is on the video. Yes, this is for instruction for emergency response training. Yes, I understand that. But I just thought this was interesting that this was the first there was an announcement of this company, and they make these very real life looking, I would say dummies, right? We have to just stop and ask ourselves, and even Kelly McEnany said today in a press conference, do we really know what we're seeing? Are we really watching real things happening on the television? She's even starting to question the narrative. You have to watch her. She's so awesome. She's doing a great job. Right, George Floyd has died multiple times. They just keep making new clones of him. I don't know. I just know that it is a little bit strange how that company's in Minneapolis. We just had that, situation there, and those mannequins look awful lot like George Floyd, don't they? So, okay. Anyway, let's move along. Here we have another, for June 10th now, we have more good news on the U.S. comeback, as I was just reporting, sharing that clip from the president. Press Secretary Kelly McEnany just shared some terrific news about our nation's fight to slow the spread of coronavirus. According to Dr. Birx, a new study suggests that the United States prevented more than 3 million coronavirus deaths thanks to aggressive mitigation efforts by President Trump and other officials. Those efforts included early travel restrictions with China, national public health guidelines, rapid testing and ventilator production, and more. Another study found that these national shutdown efforts prevented 50 million additional U.S. COVID-19 cases as well. Thanks to the selfless patriotism of workers all across our country who did their part, America's economy is now reopening safely, strongly, and well ahead of schedule. Pundits were stunned on Friday, for example, when they first saw the monthly jobs report for May, after experts projected that the United States would lose 7.5 million jobs last month. The economy added 2.5 million, the biggest monthly gain in history. It certainly does help to open up businesses again, doesn't it? There's also a clip here about from Larry Kudlow about America coming back. I'll screen share this in case you didn't get to listen, in case you didn't get to hear this. And I have met Mr. Kudlow when I was reporting at the White House, and I would love to get back there sometime soon.
America is coming back. 3 million new jobs, lower unemployment rate, furloughed temporary layoffs, going back to work. Green shoots popping up everywhere. Stocks are soaring. POTUS policies are working. Stay with the winners, Trump and Pence and me. The best is yet to come.
That was good. And he looks good. He looks healthier than I know he had some health issues he was dealing with. He looks good. Okay, so let me go back to the screen I was sharing. The best is yet to come. That's what Q's been saying, and that's what the president's been saying. So let's wait and see. It was as economist Chris Rupke emailed the biggest forecast miss of our life, the Washington Post reported. What the heck happened? In short, give some credit to the government relief efforts, especially the Paycheck Protection Program, for bringing back jobs. The Paycheck Protection Program, signed into law by President Trump, provides forgivable loans to businesses that keep their employees on payroll during the pandemic. In fairness to the media, they are used to the slow economic recoveries of the past, such as the weak growth seen under former President Obama. But the Trump economy is different, bolstered by pro-growth, pro-worker policies that create wealth broadly, cut down income inequality, and dropped unemployment to its lowest rate in 50 years. Because the patient was strong in the beginning, because of the policies that President Trump put into place to cut taxes, roll back regulation, unleash American energy, fight for free and fair trade, we created more than 7 million jobs before the coronavirus struck, Vice President Mike Pence says. Now we're rebounding quickly. I'm also going to try to make this a little bit quicker tonight because we have following the POTUS report on Ascension Radio is our part 3, as I announced in the beginning of the report tonight, part 3 of our 500 GoldFish Report number 500 multi-part series, and that is a little bit longer than an hour, so I want to save room. But let's just go through this a little bit more. We know that we're recovering economically. We have to open up jobs. The president recognizes that, and the president also signed in new law relaxing PPP rules, which are protective, personal protective gear and things of that nature. So let me move to the next day so we can get through this really quick. The president is investing in infrastructure in America, which we need. Our roads need it. Our bridges need it. We need, dams, obviously, because they're breaking. We definitely need an infrastructure investment. President Trump spoke to community and faith leaders at Gateway Church in Dallas today, where he presented his vision for advancing the cause of justice and freedom. Americans are outraged by the horrific killing of George Floyd. The president has directed Attorney General Bill Barr to expedite a federal investigation, as we already reported. Unfortunately, extremists want to exploit this tragedy to push a racial agenda that will only lead to more crime, poverty, and suffering. We can't let that happen either. Okay, I'm going to move along so that we can get through this a little bit quicker. But right now, the president, we're talking about progress. So racial justice, economic growth, religious freedom, and more means building on these successes, not tearing them down. So when the president was in Dallas, he unveiled his plan for revitalizing America's cities and distressed communities. So here we have policing. The president announced that he is finalizing an executive order to encourage police departments nationwide to meet the highest standards in the use of force by police officers, including tactics for de-escalation. Access to capital. In addition to Opportunity Zone tax cuts for underserved communities, the administration is working to set aside billions in federal loan dollars to assist African American business owners directly. Healthcare. President Trump wants to fix disparities in healthcare outcomes for minority communities. That means improving access to high quality telemedicine, increasing the use of mobile care and testing, reforming public health data practices, and addressing chronic conditions for at-risk populations. Education choice. A child's zip code should not limit his or her future. President Trump is calling on Congress to enact school choice immediately, finally giving African American children real access to high quality education. Government works best not when it dictates from above, but when it liberates from below. President Trump's agenda will lift the forgotten men and women of our country by making every single American community a safe, prosperous place to call home. So you can come here and take a look at the photo of the day, which is Vice President Mike Pence participates in a listening session with community leaders. Okay. We also have, the West Wing reads reporting again, the corporate media is now controlled by the radical left. And this is huge, folks. This is why we do GoldFish Report. This is why, we have all become digital soldiers, right? The corporate media is now controlled by the radical left. Media moguls are resigning at a head-spinning rate, an irrational reaction that's setting impossible standards and ceding immense power to an unreasonable group of fringe ideologues, according to the Federalist. And it's their own fault. They've used elite media platforms to embolden these irrational actors for years. They are failing to meet the standards they've promoted. President Trump is signing an executive order today that will authorize economic sanctions on employees of the International Criminal Court for pursuing investigations into U.S. military and intelligence personnel at Russia's behest, according to the Daily Caller. Now that the curves have been flattened and the virus seems to be moderately contained, why are the city and state still disregarding the economic welfare of not only small businesses like ours, but all Big Apple residents and commuters trying to make ends meet? Writes Alexa Mikos of the New York Post. Historically, people have been attracted to American journalism because it was the freest imaginable place to work for determined, often quirky individualists. Suddenly, it looks like the opposite of that, according to the Wall Street Journal. Well, I don't know about that, folks, because it was taken over by Operation Mockingbird, I guess around the time of JFK. So it was only, it was always controlled since then, maybe even before then. So let's talk about how the Trump administration is empowering women to enhance peace and prosperity around the world. Today, the United States Department of Defense, Homeland Security, State, and the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, released their plans to advance the 2019 United States Strategy on Women, Peace, and Security. These plans outline steps the federal government is taking to enhance women's role in preventing, resolving, and recovering from conflict. The United States understands that societies where women are empowered are more stable and peaceful, both economically and politically. The Trump administration remains committed to expanding the role of women in the establishment and maintenance of peace, security, and prosperity throughout the world. Significant progress through each of these plans. The administration is taking significant steps to promote the safety, sorry if the volume was too loud, to promote the safety, leadership, and involvement of women around the world. The Department of State is modernizing foreign policy and assistance tools to enhance policies and programs to increase women's meaningful participation in decision making, protect against gender-based violence, and counter violent extremism. The Department of Defense is promoting the safety of women and girls during conflicts and crises and improving gender equality and empowerment in the security sector. USAID is strengthening its work to invest in programs that promote women's leadership and empowerment in order to break through conflicts that hinder developmental progress and threaten global security. The Department of Homeland Security is working to support the Department of State and USAID in implementing their internationally focused strategies in addition to other measures. Leading the global effort. The Trump administration is leading the global coalition to advance the role women play in peace and security globally. President Trump and his administration are working on a global scale to promote the leadership and meaningful participation of women worldwide. During his first year in office, the president signed the first of its kind Women, Peace, and Security Act. In February 2019, the White House launched the Women's Global Development and Prosperity Initiative, the first whole-of-government approach towards advancing women's economic empowerment. During a WGDP delegation to Colombia, advisor to the President Ivanka Trump announced a new WPS partnership with the government of Colombia to foster deeper collaboration. The implementation of plans released today demonstrates the administration's strong commitment to remain at the forefront of the effort to advance the role of women in political, civic, and economic life around the world. Here we have a text of a letter from the President to the Speaker of the House of Representatives and the President of the Senate. And this is regarding national emergencies, regarding the National Emergency Act. Let's take a look at why. The text of a letter. Here's another text of a letter. This is regarding an executive order that declares a national emergency with respect to the attempts by the International Criminal Court to assert authority over the United States personnel without the consent of the United States and over personnel of countries that are allies of the United States without government's consent. Okay, you can come and take a look at the details of this on the blog if you'd like to, the goldfishreport.blogspot.com. Text of a notice of the continuation of the national emergency with respect to Belarus. You can come and take a look at this, and they're talking about that other persons undermine Belarus's democratic process or institutions. Manifested in the fundamentally undemocratic March in 2006 elections, to commit human rights abuses related to political repression, including detentions and disappearances, and to engage in public corruption, including by diverting or misusing Belarusian public assets or misusing public authority. And these are the conditions in which he continues to extend the national emergency. That will also be reported in the published in the Federal Register, as we all know. Okay, so we have another nomination sent to the Senate, Anthony Tata of Virginia to be Undersecretary of the Defense for Policy, as Vice John Rood has resigned. Here's a statement from the press secretary. Just in sake of time, I think this is regarding the International Criminal Court, which we just read a little bit of. You can come to the blog and take a look at this in more detail. This is also part of the executive order blocking property of certain persons associated with the International Criminal Court. So this is a big deal here. Let's take a look at right. Okay, so the president says, I therefore determine that any attempt by the ICC to investigate, arrest, detain, or prosecute any United States personnel without the consent of the United States or of personnel of countries that are United States allies who are not parties to the Rome Statute or have not otherwise consented to the ICC jurisdiction constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States, and I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with that threat. So you can go and take a look at this in more detail. It's actually quite a long one, so you could come to the blog and take a look at that. We also have, as you know, let me just put this out here. June 12th, National Flag Day and National Flag Week proclamation. So you can come to the blog and take a look at that. Also, other stories that the president doesn't want us to miss from Resolute Reads. We have actually kind of already reviewed them. The president's very concerned about what's going on, as you all know, regarding Seattle. And so he's talking about that here. He's talking about, obviously, no police equals no opportunity. Without law enforcement, you'll have, problems. I've also heard reports that truck drivers refuse to deliver goods and supplies in cities where the police have been defunded, which is smart. Like who wants to be involved in that? They don't even have a leader. They have a rapper for some kind of, who even says he's not really a leader. They have no leader. Chaz, the new country, the new nation declared in Portland, Oregon, right? I'm sorry, in Seattle. What was it? Seattle? Chaz. Come on, folks. We can do better than this. We truly can. Going out of business in Minneapolis. Yeah. So there's so much going on over there. We just have to pray, folks, and that we all stay sane and keep our sanity. And the people have to rise up against it. That's really the only option that we have. We can't tolerate this kind of thing. We can't tolerate an insurrection of this country. You can see that cities have already been taken over, to our astonishment, to our amazement that it can happen. So we're all gonna suffer. The economy's gonna collapse, as it has with COVID, right? If more and more cities are allowed to be taken over by these anarchists. Okay. More announcements to nominate key appointed individuals to key administrative posts. We have more for the defense, intelligence, and security. Come and take a look at this. Board of Visitors to the United States Air Force Academy and Department of Homeland Security. Come and take a look at that. Here's also a transcript of the roundtable on transition to greatness, restoring, rebuilding, and renewing. This was in Dallas by the president, and he had a few interesting comments that he made there that seems to be buzzing around the financial community regarding an RV, revaluation of our currency. I guess at some point he's going to, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling on the live, but yeah, that's remarks by the president. And as you know, the president made remarks, as I showed earlier, from the West Point graduation ceremony. A lot of really great comments and quotes that he made. And again, I think I'm going to just check in with our live chat. How is everyone doing? Delacroix, how's everybody? Truck drivers just announced they will. Exactly, Sherry. And I don't blame them. Who would want to? Who would want to drive in there? Remember what happened to, what was his name during the Rodney King riots? What was that truck driver's name? Boy, they dragged him out and beat him up, didn't they? And who wants that, right? Who wants to see more of that happen, folks? We need to stand up and not let this happen to our country. So I want to thank everybody who has been tuning in on YouTube, who's been participating in the live chat. I want to thank everyone for joining us. That's it for right now. Tomorrow is the president's birthday. And as we started out the program today, we want to end the program today with another happy birthday to President Trump. And thank you for all that you're doing, and thank you for your sacrifices, and thank you for the war and leading us in this through this war as you drain the swamp, which is why we started this POTUS report 175 weeks ago. Never missed one POTUS report, never missed 1 week. Every week we're here reporting on the president, holding his feet to the fire, making sure he's draining the swamp as he promised he was going to do. And I want to thank you all. Exactly. So everybody, you have a great night. If you're listening on Ascension Radio, you can stay tuned. There'll be another broadcast, another GoldFish Report following this, which is very interesting. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can just click on the link and watch it if you haven't watched it yet. We also have part 4 with Dr. Jim Fetzer, my co-host for Political Theater. He has also contributed a wonderful, wonderful part 4 to our series, GoldFish Report 500 series on artificial intelligence. And we really hope that you all enjoy that. We wanted to provide a multidisciplinary look at this topic of artificial intelligence. We have a reverse speech analyst for part 1, Tiffany Fontenot, who discusses what she's finding in reverse speech of world leaders regarding this transhumanist agenda. We have particle physicist Dr. Catherine Horton, who comes on and discusses what she believes is the ultimate issue at hand and possible solutions for this. And of course, we have Sergeant Daniel Brad McMullen, who has joined us to talk about the military perspective on this, and also some other very, very interesting logistics regarding AI, the particle accelerators, phones, and things of that nature, and how we interface with our bio API field. Very interesting stuff, folks. And of course, part 4 with Dr. Jim Fetzer, talking about the theory behind intelligence, the theory behind what makes us intelligent, what makes us have a mind. What is a mind versus what is merely an execution of a program. But we do want to deal with this from a consciousness level. And I am hoping that we will have a part 5 so that we can deal with this in the quantum level. And that is really what my goal is at this point. And I hope to present that to everybody. So thank you all very much. You have a great night. Hi, Dr. Arden. Hi, Slim. Thanks for joining me. Hi, Special Ops, Spec Ops, the Front Porch Media. I do appreciate all of you. Ohm 444. Hi. Haven't seen you in a while. I know all of our regular viewers. I do appreciate you guys being here and joining me. So have a wonderful night. And if you want to listen in for that second part of the report, you can join us on Ascension Radio, or you can. Yes, if you like the report, please give us a thumbs up because that does help to circulate the report. You can also, if you want to help support the GoldFish Report, you can become a Patreon, and we have our links below in the description section. Or you can go to goldfishreport.com and make a donation, and that helps to keep the channel going and keeps us reporting. We do hope to be able to raise funds enough to return to the White House. But we haven't been able to do that. And as I've had my own personal challenges, it's been very difficult to do that. So, as we all have, being stuck in our homes, especially for the past 4 months, not being able to go places. But I do want to thank all of our viewers, all of our Patreons who are there steadfast every week and every month. We do appreciate you. And to all the viewers who do make contributions to our PayPal, to our through PayPal, to our website. We are so very eternally grateful for you because you are the ones who are keeping this going. So thank you so much for your support. Thanks for everybody watching, and stay tuned for another episode on Ascension Radio, another GoldFish Report following this one. And we'll see you all on Monday, hopefully, for a political theater. There is a chance I may have to go out of town for a funeral, but I'm not quite sure about the details of everything. I may or may not be here. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do the political theater on Monday or not, but I may do it Sunday night instead. So in any event, we'll be back with another political theater soon for you, and have a great weekend, everyone. This concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report. Thanks to everybody in our live stream. I do appreciate your comments. I appreciate your chat and all of your discussions with each other. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. And we'll be continuing this on Ascension Radio for another interview if you'd like to go over there. Otherwise, we'll hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you on either Sunday or Monday. Thanks, everyone.